chopping, use of a knife, and proper hand placement. Firstly, let's start by saying again that a sharp knife is critical to safe knife procedures of any kind. The next thing is, you'll notice that when I use my knife, I always maintain the same movement with my right hand. I don't twist my hand like this. I don't twist my hand like that. I always use every joint, straight up the line, bending my wrist, bending my elbow, moving my shoulder, right to left, and I get a tremendous amount of power with that rocking motion. It's also safe because I'm comfortable, and I've isolated my arm against my body. Next is the left hand. This is the hand that gets cut. So you need to pay special attention to your fingers on this one. I'm going to show you some of the wrong methods that I've seen. I'm going to show you some of the right methods. I'm going to try to cut short before cutting myself, though. I've seen people cut with their thumb sticking out, like that. I've also seen people cut keeping their fingers out like that. Really risky. Turn away and they'll hit the tips of their fingers. Something that we all know happens quite often, because it's happened to you or it's happened to somebody you know more than once. Let's talk about the right way. We don't need a vegetable for that. Certain rules. I keep my thumb back. I keep my knuckles bent. I know exactly where the knife is. No matter how close I get, I have no chance of hurting myself. You see, I don't need to look because I know that if I maintain this angle and my fingers are hitting the knife like that, there's no chance that I can cut myself unless I pick up the knife. And that's why you see a lot of people keeping the blade down. But the key is to always know where the knife is and know that you're hitting that knuckle. So let's get started here with a carrot, and I'll show you the proper procedure. I start out away. I hit my knuckle. See that? I could do every finger I want. It's always the same thing. If you could see the little space that I have over here between the knife and my knuckle, you'll see that there's no chance for me to cut myself. This is the space. You see, no matter how close I get, I have no chance of hitting my fingers. This is that little bump over there. It hurts when I bang it, but it'll hurt a lot more if I put my knife through it. All right? Even when I pick up the knife, I maintain that space. That's why I don't need to look at what I'm doing, even though it's a good advice to always look at what you're doing. Now be careful not to push your thumb through, because that's a great way for somebody to hurt themselves. Just start again. So it looks like this. Stop, start again. Like a typewriter. Let's do it again. Another thing to notice is that you don't want an uneven cutting surface. So the idea is you want to cut that top piece off, work with that, and when you get to the big bulky spot, you cut it the long way, being very careful, always being aware of where your fingers are before you put any kind of pressure down. Use a flat surface, very stable, and you can get as fine as you want. See that space? There's always a space there. I always feel where the knife is. Even if I'm here, I always feel. And if I have to measure whether I'm going to be tilting in or out, my blade will always be out. It might be a millimeter difference, but it'll always be facing out. Chop vegetables. Good luck. Hi. To properly julienne a pepper, first use a sharp knife. Second, make a cut on the top of the pepper, cut on the bottom of the pepper. Reserve these for a different use, salad, saute. Make one incision, come around, pulling out the pith. Core, disregard, cut in half. Notice my hand stays in this angle, perfectly aligned. I use the inside of the pepper because the outside is slippery. Yeah. Julienne peppers. For a fine mince, you'll notice these lines. We're going to make 2 cuts. 1 cut in this direction, 1 cut in this direction. We will not be making a cut over here and over here. I always see people making these cuts. Never understood why. The onion itself is layered. See those layers? This onion is layered. It has lines. It tells you exactly what to do to dice it. One thing you need to know is that these layers are rounded. If it were flat, it would just be 1 cut this way and 1 cut that way. But since it's round, you need to angle the knife gently. Move it back towards you. Use the edge of the knife to make the cuts. Now, we have our lines this way. We have our layers the other way. All we have to do is cut it this way to decide how thick we want to do it. So for a fine mince, use a sharp knife, use the edge of the knife, come straight down, be gentle, not a lot of pressure is necessary. And what you have is a fine diced onion that's perfect for rice and perfect for anything that calls for diced onion. Let's put all that aside. This could be used for a stock. Don't mess around with that little piece. Now for bigger cuts, you can use the old method. Putting your knife through the middle. See those natural layers? That's a medium diced onion. Now, for a sliced onion, cut off the heel and the root. Remember those lines we spoke about? Just follow those lines. Flip it over. We don't need to mess around with that. Sliced onion. For another type of sliced onion, keep the core intact. Instead of slicing the length and with the lines, cut against the lines. Let the natural layering of the onion divide the rings for you. You've all seen these on burgers, salads. I like to use these when I'm cooking them, these when I'm eating them raw. That's it. Okay. Onions. Not too many people know how to use this or what it's for. People think it's for sharpening, but it's not. It's for honing. And honing is a completely different... it's just different than sharpening. It's straightening. It's perfecting. You can look it up in the dictionary, but I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's make believe that this is a close-up image of the edge of your knife. Right? It's a real sharp edge, you know. But it's so fine and it's so thin that as you cut, sometimes it gets slightly bent. And suddenly you realize your knife's just not working the same. But it's so fine, and even though it's metal, it still has the capability of bending. So what a honer does, it straightens it out. That's why it's very important when you hone your knife to hold a 20-degree angle and remain consistent. If you go like this, you'll dull the knife. If you do this, you're accomplishing nothing. You want to have a 20-degree angle both ways. This lip is here to protect your hands. Whoops. We'll do it backwards. We don't want to ruin the blade. Can't hurt my hands. So make sure when you're honing a knife, your hand isn't up there. It's down here. The more often you do that, the longer your knife will stay sharp. If you don't do that, and you're cutting with a blade like this, eventually you'll just flatten out the blade, and this wouldn't even cut my tongue.